had no government shutdown because that's just not a good thing, but it raises an excellent issue. Thankfully, it was the most amount of money cut from a budget in history. Hopefully we can go further. The situations going on in Libya and in Egypt, where they want to read emails, as if this isn't going on in America via the Patriot Act, which gives all rights to spy on anyone that they want. It's doublespeak. It's outrageous. It's trying to say how outrageous, like we would never do this, and we do this. The NSA, Homeland Security, groping us at the airport. This is what's going on, and slowly they're closing our society. Now we have the tsunamis and the radiation. It's okay. Radiation and milk everywhere. It's okay. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Just keep going along. Be good little serfs. The mind-controlled media is just superimposing all of these images that to calm us and to divert our attention, like the royal wedding. Who cares about these people? They're the globalists. That's the Queen of England. She just shut down and fired Parliament in Canada. Come on. They're the whole thing. This is the New World Order. We have to fight these people. We have to get the Federal Reserve closed. We got to get this stuff done. We've been duped. We've been hoodwinked. I was hoodwinked. You know, this is not a joke. This is a collectivist effort to make a one-world government. And the writing is on the wall. We're at war. Our president becomes involved in this kinetic action. And then we have to worry about things at home. Our economy is supposedly on the rise. The indicators seem to be changing. Again, the devaluation of the dollar is key here. It is going to be destroyed. It is going to disappear. And there will be a global currency that is going to be proposed. At what value, we don't know. But considering that we'll have probably the buying capacity of the dollar will be of that of Zimbabwe, we could certainly be assured that we too will fall under this tyranny from the Federal Reserve System known as the global bankster elite. The Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, the Queen of England, all through the Bank of England, all controlling our efforts. We have to free ourselves from the Federal Reserve System, emancipate our foreign relations from the Council, our foreign policy from the Council on Foreign Relations. We have to end our involvement with the United Nations. The global world is not going to be consistent with the constitutional republic that was founded by our founding fathers in 1776. It'll be just the opposite. It'll become a fascist dictatorship, which it's closing in on right now. This, even the way that they're controlling us, just to get us hurdled, basically corralled through the mind-controlled media, through all these distractions, everyone watching. I mean, why is it that everyone has to watch these people selling houses in Manhattan, apartments for like $5 million, like, oh, this is good, like distract the people. Oh, this is good, everybody should buy all these consumer things, all these expensive things. Think about that, and so they work harder and harder and harder and harder to get these material things that they push on us to get. The founding of the Federal Reserve coincided with some very significant developments or institutional changes in America. The Rockefeller Foundation, of course, was founded in 1913, which gave most of its money to medical research. So it was actually the creation of the pharmaceutical cartels began after the breakup of the Rockefeller Trust in 1911. The Supreme Court of the United States found that John D. Rockefeller and his trust guilty of corruption, illegal business practices, and racketeering, if anybody forgets. The world's largest corporation of its time was sentenced to be dismantled. In 1918, the Rockefeller Foundation uses the flu epidemic and the media, which of course by then it already had great control of, to start a witch hunt on all forms of medicine that were not covered by patents of the Rockefeller industry. The Rockefeller Foundation was the front organization for a new global business venture of Rockefeller and his accomplices. This venture was called the pharmaceutical investment business. Now, it was always the pharmaceutical investment business. It was not to make people well. It was to make money off of them. The first books appeared with research subsequently abandoned about health benefits of vitamins. These newly discovered molecules had only one disadvantage: they were not patentable. So since then, vitamins had basically been at war with the Big Pharma. Under the pretense of consumer protection, the UN launched a 4-decade-long crusade to outlaw vitamin therapies and other natural, non-patentable health approaches in all member countries. The goal was simply to ban any and all competition for the multi-billion-dollar business with patented drugs. Disguised as Mother Teresa, the Rockefeller Foundation was also used to conquer foreign countries and entire continents for the pharmaceutical investment business, just as Rockefeller himself had done a few decades previously with his petrochemical investment business. In 1925, on the other side of the Atlantic in Germany, the first chemical pharmaceutical cartel is founded in order to compete with the Rockefellers' quest for control of the global drug market. Led by the German multinationals Bayer, BASF, and Host, the IG Farben cartel was founded with a total number of employees surpassing 80,000. And on November 29, 1929, the Rockefeller cartel and IG Farben decided to divide the entire globe into interest spheres. This very same crime Rockefeller had been sentenced for 18 years earlier, when his trust had been divided up into interest zones. The IG Farben cartel, equally satiable, decides no longer to be bound by the 1922 constraints in 1932, and they support an uprising of a German politician who promises IG Farben to militarily conquer the world for them. In each and every country Hitler's Wehrmacht invaded, the first act was to rob the chemical, petrochemical, and pharmaceutical industries and assign them free of charge to the IG Farben empire. 1942 to 1945, in order to cement its global leadership with patented drugs, the IG Farben cartel tests its patented pharmaceutical substances on concentration camp inmates in Auschwitz, Dachau, and many other sites. The Standard Oil and IG Farben were basically the same company during the war, and the money that was used by Rockefeller to fund the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Psychiatry, which was founded in Munich in 1925, was directly used as a front for the Nazi research, for the Joseph Mengele research. And of course it was also in 1925 the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Eugenics and Heredity Studies. So these were all funded and founded and started by the Rockefellers, who of course also started and founded Rockefeller Center. Okay? NBC, the media, and looking at them as being these great contributors. They donated the land the United Nations sits on First Avenue. They were integral in the beginnings of the United Nations in 1945 when it was founded in San Francisco. Then, of course, they became known as philanthropists, you know, giving away Lincoln Center and all of these other beautiful locations through their tax-free Rockefeller Foundation. Everybody pays taxes. Corporations get taxed. If you own a small business, you get taxed on your profits. Your employees, say 100 of them, they get taxed individually. And you, as the owner, gets taxed individually. And where do these taxes go? To the IRS, Federal Reserve. But what is the money for? Is it for programs? Is it for the people? No. It's for interest on debts to the banksters who have basically hijacked our government. And we can easily change this. Paying back the 1.4 quadrillion in derivatives fraud? Impossible. They got to take a haircut The world always takes a haircut and the banksters always make billions. This has got to change. The people have to rise up, complain. This is a petition of grievance to the American people and to the American government. I am consistently petitioning grievance on a daily basis to end the corruption in our government, to stop the phony wars, to stop enriching the global interests and the banksters while sickening the population, putting people like Michael Taylor as head of the FDA from Monsanto, one of the evilest companies on earth. Control. It's all about control, everybody. Michael Taylor was the vice president and head lobbyist and attorney for Monsanto for years. Put him in charge of the Food and Drug Administration after S510 was passed, which is basically looking to destroy small farms. Calling what I'm doing now potential terrorism. Exercising my right to free speech. And redress of grievances. Everybody's got to join together on this. It's no joke. And getting back to the pharmaceutical fraud. The pharmaceutical industry, there's no money in cure. Everybody just has to wake up from that. I mean, there are doctors probably that don't even realize that. That's it. That's why there are no cures. Okay? You cure a disease that's profitable, you kill an industry. You're killing the globalists. But sure, they cure things that are not as profitable, or they figure out ways to say, well, we're making some progress through our research. But the progress is for the elite. They take advantage of it. We are left to die as more and more people in their 40s and 50s are getting cancer, as autism rates are through the roof now, down to 1 in 110 and 1 in 70 with male children. That's unbelievable. You know, rise in multiple sclerosis rates from 1,500 15 years ago to 1 in 5,000. From 1 in 5,000 15 years ago to 1 in 1,500 now. What we eat, what the Food and Drug Administration allows to be put in the food, what they say to be safe, like the milk is safe from Fukushima, from the radiation. Drink the milk in California, don't worry about it. Put your head in the sand and go back to sleep. By 1944, Nelson Rockefeller had already entered the executive branch of the U.S. government. He started off as an undersecretary of state and ended up a few years later as special advisor to President Truman for special affairs. In other words, at critical junctures of the 20th century, the Rockefellers' interests took direct charge. This is consistently happening. They decided the post-war shape of the world and the distribution of its wealth. Now they're doing it again with the global world, that they finally have all the positions in place. George globalist Nazi Soros, who gave up a Jewish man who gave up his own people to the Nazis to spare his skin and make money. The billionaire George Soros is at Bretton Woods 2 right now this weekend as we listen to as this tape is being recorded. Bretton Woods 2, the global future of America.